Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to imagine something for a moment. You wake up one day and something feels off. You forget where you placed your keys. You struggle to recall a familiar name. At first, it seems harmless, just a part of aging, something we all brush off. But what if I told you that one simple mistake, something you might be doing every single night, is quietly increasing your risk of dementia? As an emergency room doctor, I've seen patients come in with confusion, memory loss, and cognitive decline that didn't happen overnight. These changes build slowly, silently over years, and one of the most overlooked contributors is not diet, not exercise, but sleep. Now here's the mistake: chronic poor sleep, especially sleeping too little or having deeply fragmented sleep. Most people think sleep is just rest. You lie down, close your eyes, and recharge, but sleep is far more than that. It is your brain's cleaning system. While you sleep, your brain goes into maintenance mode. It clears out toxic waste, including a protein called beta amyloid. This protein is strongly linked to dementia. When it builds up, it forms plaques that disrupt brain function and memory. Here's where the danger lies. When you consistently get poor sleep, less than 6 hours, or sleep that is constantly interrupted, this cleaning system doesn't work properly. Imagine never taking out the trash in your home. Day after day it piles up. Eventually it becomes overwhelming. That's exactly what happens in your brain, and the most alarming part: research shows that chronic sleep deprivation can double your risk of developing dementia later in life. Think about that. Double. This isn't about one bad night. This is about a pattern: staying up late scrolling on your phone, waking up multiple times due to stress, ignoring sleep because you think productivity matters more. Over time, these habits quietly damage your brain. In the ER, I've seen patients who never thought sleep mattered. They focused on everything else: career, responsibilities, daily stress, but neglected the one thing their brain desperately needed. Years later, they face the consequences. But here's the good news: this is one of the most preventable risks. Your brain wants to protect you. It wants to repair itself. You just have to give it the chance. Start with consistency. Go to bed at the same time every night. Your body thrives on routine. Create an environment where sleep can happen naturally: dark, quiet, and cool. Limit screen time before bed, because that blue light tricks your brain into staying awake. And most importantly, respect sleep as a necessity, not a luxury. If you wake up often during the night, don't ignore it. It could be stress, anxiety, or even conditions like sleep apnea. These are not minor issues. They directly affect how your brain functions over time. Let me be clear: protecting your sleep is protecting your future. Because dementia doesn't begin when memory fails, it begins years earlier, in the small daily choices we make or ignore. Tonight, when you lie down, remember this: your brain is counting on you. Every hour of quality sleep is an investment in your memory, your clarity, your independence. Don't wait until the warning signs appear. Fix the mistake now, because the best way to fight dementia is to never give it the chance to start. Chronic sleep deprivation is one of the most underestimated threats to brain health, yet it quietly affects millions of people who sacrifice rest for work, stress, or entertainment. Many individuals believe they can function normally on 5 or 6 hours of sleep, convincing themselves that productivity matters more than rest, but the brain tells a very different story. Sleep is not simply a period of inactivity. It is an active and essential process during which the brain repairs, reorganizes, and restores itself. When sleep becomes consistently shortened or disrupted, these critical processes are impaired, leading to both immediate and long-term consequences that directly affect cognitive function. One of the most important roles of sleep is memory consolidation. Throughout the day, the brain absorbs information, experiences, and skills, but it is during deep sleep that this information is processed and stored. Without sufficient sleep, the brain struggles to retain new information, making learning more difficult and recall less reliable. This is why people who are chronically sleep-deprived often experience forgetfulness, difficulty concentrating, and mental fatigue. Over time, this pattern doesn't just affect daily performance, it begins to reshape how the brain functions at a deeper level. Another critical function of sleep involves the brain's waste clearance system, often referred to as the glymphatic system. During deep sleep, this system becomes highly active, flushing out toxins that accumulate throughout the day. Among these toxins is beta amyloid, a protein strongly associated with neurodegenerative conditions. When sleep is consistently disrupted or shortened, this cleaning process becomes less efficient, allowing harmful substances to build up in the brain. This accumulation doesn't cause immediate symptoms, which is why many people ignore the importance of sleep, but over years, it can contribute to serious cognitive decline. Chronic sleep deprivation also affects the brain's structure and emotional regulation. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making, attention, and self-control, becomes less effective when sleep is insufficient. At the same time, the amygdala, which processes emotions like fear and stress, becomes more reactive. This imbalance leads to increased irritability, poor judgment, and heightened emotional responses. People may find themselves overreacting to small problems, struggling to stay focused, or making decisions they wouldn't normally make if well rested. These changes may seem minor at first, but when experienced daily, they begin to alter behavior and mental stability. In addition to cognitive and emotional effects, sleep deprivation disrupts the brain's communication pathways. Neurons rely on consistent cycles of activity and rest to function efficiently, and without proper sleep, these cycles are thrown off balance. This can slow down reaction times, impair coordination, and reduce overall mental sharpness. In environments that require alertness, such as driving or operating machinery, these impairments can be dangerous. Even in less critical situations, the cumulative effect of reduced brain efficiency can lower overall quality of life and productivity. What makes chronic sleep deprivation particularly concerning is that its effects are gradual and often go unnoticed until they become severe. People adapt to feeling tired, assuming it is normal, and fail to recognize how much their cognitive abilities have declined. This normalization of fatigue masks the underlying damage being done to the brain. Unlike sudden illnesses, sleep-related damage builds silently, making it harder to reverse once it has progressed. Age further amplifies the impact of poor sleep on brain health. As individuals grow older, the brain becomes more vulnerable to damage and less efficient at repairing itself. Chronic sleep deprivation during midlife has been linked to a significantly higher risk of cognitive decline in later years. This means that the habits formed today can have lasting consequences decades into the future. Protecting sleep is not just about feeling better in the morning. It is about preserving mental clarity, memory, and independence over the long term. Modern lifestyles make quality sleep increasingly difficult to achieve. Exposure to artificial light, irregular schedules, and constant digital stimulation all interfere with the body's natural sleep-wake cycle. Stress and anxiety further disrupt sleep patterns, creating a cycle where poor sleep leads to increased stress, which in turn leads to even worse sleep. Breaking this cycle requires intentional effort and awareness of how daily habits influence brain health. Ultimately, chronic sleep deprivation is not a minor inconvenience but a significant risk factor that affects every aspect of brain function. It influences how we think, feel, remember, and respond to the world around us. By consistently neglecting sleep, individuals are placing their brain under constant strain, reducing its ability to perform essential functions and increasing vulnerability to long-term damage. Recognizing the importance of sleep and making it a priority is one of the most powerful steps anyone can take to protect their brain and maintain cognitive health over time. Every night, as the body rests, the brain begins one of its most important and least understood processes, a deep cleansing cycle, often referred to as the brain's detox system. This process is not a metaphor, but a biological function that plays a critical role in maintaining cognitive health. During waking hours, the brain is constantly active, producing waste products as a result of normal cellular activity. Among these waste products are proteins and toxins that, if allowed to accumulate, can interfere with how brain cells communicate and function. Sleep is the only time when the brain can efficiently clear out this buildup, making it essential for long-term neurological health. This detox process is largely carried out by what scientists call the glymphatic system, a network that becomes highly active during deep sleep. As the body relaxes, brain cells slightly shrink, creating more space between them. This allows cerebrospinal fluid to flow more freely through brain tissue, flushing out harmful substances that have accumulated throughout the day. One of the most concerning of these substances is beta-amyloid, a protein closely linked to cognitive decline and dementia. When this protein is not properly cleared, it begins to stick together, forming plaques that disrupt communication between neurons and gradually impair memory and thinking abilities. The efficiency of this nightly cleansing depends heavily on the quality and duration of sleep. Deep sleep, also known as slow-wave sleep, is the stage during which detox activity is at its peak. However, many people fail to reach or maintain this stage due to poor sleep habits, stress, irregular schedules, or exposure to artificial light late at night. When deep sleep is shortened or fragmented, the brain's ability to remove toxins is reduced. Instead of being cleared away, harmful proteins remain and accumulate over time, increasing the burden on the brain. What makes this process particularly concerning is that the effects are not immediately noticeable. A person may feel slightly tired or unfocused after a poor night's sleep, but the deeper consequences are invisible in the short term. The brain continues to function, compensating for the reduced efficiency, but the underlying buildup of waste continues silently. Over months and years, this accumulation can reach levels that begin to affect brain structure and function, setting the stage for cognitive decline. Research has shown a strong connection between disrupted sleep and an increased risk of dementia. Individuals who consistently experience poor sleep, especially those who sleep fewer than 6 hours per night or wake frequently, are more likely to develop cognitive impairments later in life. This is not because sleep alone determines brain health, but because it directly influences the brain's ability to maintain a clean and stable internal environment. Without proper detoxification, neurons are exposed to higher levels of stress and damage, making them more vulnerable to degeneration. Sleep disorders further complicate this issue. Conditions such as sleep apnea, where breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep, can significantly disrupt deep sleep cycles. Even if a person spends enough time in bed, the quality of sleep may be too poor to support effective detoxification. This means the brain is deprived of the very process it relies on to protect itself. Over time, this repeated disruption can accelerate the accumulation of harmful proteins and increase the risk of neurological conditions. Lifestyle choices also play a major role in supporting or hindering the brain's nightly detox process. Late night screen use, caffeine consumption, irregular sleep schedules, and chronic stress all interfere with the body's natural rhythm, making it harder to enter and sustain deep sleep. The modern environment often encourages habits that are directly at odds with the brain's needs, leading many people to unknowingly compromise their long-term cognitive health. Age adds another layer of complexity to this process. As the brain ages, the efficiency of the glymphatic system naturally declines, and sleep patterns often become more fragmented. This makes it even more important to prioritize high-quality sleep, as the brain's ability to compensate for disruptions becomes weaker over time. What might seem like a minor sleep issue in younger years can have more serious consequences as the brain becomes less resilient. Understanding the connection between nightly brain detox and dementia risk shifts the way sleep should be viewed. It is not simply about feeling rested or energized for the next day, but about preserving the brain's internal environment and preventing long-term damage. Each night of quality sleep provides an opportunity for the brain to reset, repair, and protect itself against the gradual buildup of harmful substances. Ignoring this process means allowing damage to accumulate quietly, increasing the likelihood of cognitive decline in the future.